All right, today we're going to break down a really dramatic clash between a US president and the Supreme Court. It's a showdown that's sending some serious shockwaves through the global economy and creating a whole new list of winners and losers. Okay, let's just dive right into the heart of it with President Trump's furious reaction. And look, this wasn't just some political squabble. This was his response to what is arguably the biggest legal defeat of his presidency and a massive blow to his signature economic policy. So to really get what's going on here, we need to go back and look at the Supreme Court decision that lit this whole fire. Yeah, so it was a 6-3 vote, and let me tell you, that's decisive. The Supreme Court struck a major blow, declaring President Trump's existing tariffs illegal. This wasn't even close. It was a really clear message coming from the nation's highest court. So what was this all about? Well, at the heart of it was this one specific law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977, or IEPEA. The administration had been using it to slap on tariffs by declaring national emergencies. The Supreme Court's ruling, when you boil it down, was simple. Nope, you can't do that. And you gotta understand, the scale of this was just immense. We're not talking about some minor legal tweak here. This decision instantly wiped out the legal foundation for a whopping 2/3 of all U.S. tariff revenue. But if you thought the story ended there with the Supreme Court ruling, well, think again. What happened next was both incredibly fast and, frankly, legally unprecedented. So get this, in less than a day, just 16 hours to be precise, the administration pulled a complete pivot. After getting hit with this major legal loss, they immediately announced an entirely new, broad-based 15% global tariff. So how on earth did they do it? This right here, it breaks down the legal gymnastics involved. They basically tossed out that defeated EPA and dug up this kind of dusty, never-before-used provision from the Trade Act of 1974. And the key feature? It lets the president act for 150 days without needing any approval from Congress. None. Okay, but it's super important to know that this new tariff isn't just a blanket tax on everything coming in. They were pretty strategic. They carved out some key exemptions for sectors like industrial metals, cars, goods from Canada and Mexico that are under existing trade deals and aircraft parts. So how did this massive move reshape the global trade landscape? Well, this sudden policy shift instantly created a whole new list of economic winners and losers all over the world. So this table here really lays out the immediate fallout. You've got the European Union, the UK, and India. They're clearly in the losers column, facing higher average tariff rates. But on the flip side, and this is really interesting, countries like China, Brazil, and Vietnam actually come out ahead. Why? Because this new flat 15% rate is actually lower than some of the targeted tariffs they were already dealing with. So their stuff just got more competitive in the US. You know, Christine Lagarde from the European Central Bank, she just nailed the feeling of deep uncertainty with this analogy. For businesses and governments around the world, it's like the rule book for global trade was just thrown out the window overnight, and nobody has a new one. Okay, so let's bring this back home for a second. Beyond the global drama, the Supreme Court's ruling opened up this huge, complicated can of worms. What happens to all the money that companies already paid under these tariffs that are now, illegal? And the number, it's just staggering. American companies could, in theory, be owed refunds totaling up to $175 billion. That's a massive amount of cash collected under a system the Supreme Court just said was invalid. But, and this is a big but, getting that money back is nowhere near a sure thing. The Supreme Court kind of kicked the can down the road to lower courts, and that's setting the stage for what everyone thinks is going to be a 5-year legal war. More than 1,500 lawsuits have already been filed by big names, but honestly, the experts, they're really, really skeptical about their chances. You've got top officials, like the U.S. Trade Representative, basically saying on the record that they don't think American companies will ever see a penny of these refunds. So what if they're wrong? What if, against all odds, those refunds do get paid out? Well, analysts are projecting it could actually have a real impact on the country's finances, potentially adding another 0.5% to the U.S. national deficit. So, with all this legal and political chaos swirling around, how are the financial markets handling it all? Let's take a quick look at the immediate ripple effects. Well, the market reaction was pretty much what you'd expect, fast and predictable.
Amid all the confusion, the US dollar started to weaken as investors started looking for somewhere safer to put their money. And where did that money go? Yup, into the classic safe haven asset, gold. Its price shot up.
Meanwhile, the riskier stuff took a nosedive. We saw cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin fall pretty hard, dropping below that $65,000 mark as investors just ran from speculation.
And finally, all this chaos is messing with expectations for the Federal Reserve, too. The odds of an interest rate cut in June, they've dropped down to just 43.5%. The market is clearly getting worried about how these new policies might fuel inflation. So this all leaves us with a massive question, right? Are we watching a new protectionist wall get built, one that's going to totally redefine global trade? Or is this actually proof that the American system of checks and balances, even when it's pushed to the limit, still works? Honestly, nobody knows the answer yet, and the entire global economy is kind of holding its breath, waiting to find out.